Well, hello everyone. How are we feeling today? Are you having a good day or a bad day? Well, depending on your thoughts on astrology, that statement could go either way. Because for the last several weeks, Venus has been retrograding. Now, Venus, for me, has been retrograde in my 7th house of relationships, which is why I decided to hit detonate on my love life. You could say I had a Vladimir Putin staring at a red button moment. Now, I could continue to negate the fact I decided to make that decision, take no accountability and blame it on Venus, or I can look realistically as to why I did what I did. The answer are my thoughts. Today we're going to look at thoughts and their place in shaping our reality. And depending on the energy that we emit when the thought occurs, the overall outcome that we are attracting towards us. I've decided to take a scientific and spiritual approach in relaying today's findings and implementing knowledge that can help us further control our thoughts in an appropriate way. So without further ado, let's get into this episode of Trauma Bonding. What are thoughts, according to psychology? My thoughts have been more invasive than ladybugs dying in my house. Thoughts are mental cognitions, our ideas, opinions, and beliefs about ourselves and the world around us. They include the perspectives we bring to any situation or experience that color our point of view, for better, worse, or neutral. They obviously don't know me, do they? What are emotions? Something as an Aquarius I don't have. It may be useful to think of emotions as the flow and experience of feelings. For example, joy, sadness, anger, or fear. Emotions can be triggered by some external, from seeing a friend suffer or watching a movie, or something internal, an upsetting memory. While emotions are universal, each person may experience them and respond to them in a different way. Some people may struggle with understanding what emotions they are experiencing. Now, that definition and breakdown was according to psychology. But what if we asked that same question from a scientific perspective? What are thoughts? Scientific explanation. Fundamentally, our thoughts are maps representing and corresponding to things that our brain have either perceived with our senses, felt with our emotions, or formed as an action plan. All of these are electrochemically meditated processes. Thoughts may be fleeting, or they may later be consolidated as memories. Memory, too, is a physical process encoded by structural, molecular changes, and neuronal connections. I don't know if you guys know this, but I have Invisalign and neuronal. That took me a few times. It's not even a lisp, it's like a wisp. If you don't believe me. Let's see if I can say it now. Neuronal. Molecular changes in neuronal. All right, great. Now, without being too repetitive, one more time, let's take a look at thoughts and emotions from my favorite branch of physics, quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics and your vibrational frequency. And this is why we have to be careful of the thoughts that we're thinking. Every thought and emotion has its own vibrational frequency or wave frequency. Quantum mechanics has demonstrated how a wave frequency can be altered. The shape of a wave has peaks and valleys. Energy waves are encoders and carriers of information with an infinite capacity for storage. When you overlay an opposite-shaped wave onto an original wave, the original wave is straightened Essentially, you cancel out the characteristics of the original wave by overlaying a new exact opposite set of peaks and valleys on top of it. You change the vibrational frequency. Keep that in mind for later. Who knows, I might give you all a test. I am the teacher now. That's a crown that I wear proudly. And don't worry, I don't plan on fucking any of you. Thoughts are like sound waves. I meant what I said. This has been demonstrated with sound waves where researchers are attempting to create a quiet environment. You can use sound to literally cancel and silence unwanted noises. This technology is used for corporate offices adjacent to noisy businesses, or in doctors and counseling offices where voices can be heard between treatment rooms, or in the car industry to make engines quieter. Mechanics of changing thoughts. Comprehending this is taking into consideration the subatomic casual level of thinking and feeling. If you identify an exact opposite positive thought to counter a negative thought, you are using this principle. Take a moment and think about the word stress. Now take a moment and think about the word relax. Think about the word fear, and now the word safe. It sounds simple, and it is. The trick is you have over 60,000 thoughts per day to work with. In any case, this is the basic idea, and where the positive thinking movement has made a powerful impact in changing lives. Your perception, your reality. To change your thinking, you must adopt the belief that your perception of the world is what determines your reality. When you discover how to effectively choose your perceptions, you change your ability to cultivate happiness. Because you have more control over your internal world than your external world, this is the best place to decrease stress and raise your happiness. We are specifically referring to your response to situations via your thoughts, emotions, and actions. When you change your response, you change your experience of the situation. This single factor has the potential to dramatically alter the course of your life journey. The 2 levels of control. Okay, so this is fun because number 1 is your perception. Number 2 is your response. How we perceive and how we respond to the things we perceive. Perception. How you perceive an event impacts the amount of stress you experience. You can choose to view a situation in such a way that validates your reasons for feeling stressed, or you can view it so that way you feel motivated and up for the challenge to deal with it. Because every action is preceded by a thought and an emotion, it's a good idea to start with your perception if you plan to rewire your experience of stress. Response. You may not be able to control what happens, but you can control how you respond to what happens. Your response includes not only your actions, but also the degree of tension you allow in your mind and body. Decreasing mind-body tension requires working with mind-body practices. One of the strategies we have found most helpful is brain spotting therapy. It's your response that will either stop your experience of stress or perpetuate and fuel the stress cycle. And then it has a nice little quote at the end of the article. The world we have created is a product of our thinking. It can't be changed without changing our thinking. Albert Einstein. The role of emotions. Now, this is something that a lot of people don't seem to understand, that when they are trying to, I hate this word, manifest their reality, it's not just about what you're thinking. It's also the emotion that you are evoking. That is the stimuli to the mental picture that you have in your head. That is the very same thing that is going to act almost as a magnet and pull to you your desire. So, same thing goes in everyday life when we're thinking and we are emoting as we continue to think. A thought without intense emotion and feeling has no meaning, no value, and no real power to effectively engage your neural pathways. Intensity of emotion and feeling is required to take an experience and make it a solidified habit. The more emotion you engage, the more neurons you activate to form well worn pathways. Emotions and feelings act as glue that binds you to the experiences. They are the juice or energy behind your thoughts that give power to your memories, goals, hopes, and dreams. So, again, when we have an emotion behind the thought, it's the glue that keeps us in this belief system. The feeling behind the thought has all the power, even in creating your own destiny. Now let's look at vibrational frequency of emotions, because this is very important. Since we are viewing this from a scientific lens, a physics lens, this will be able to give you the better sense that, okay, when I'm thinking, I'm emoting, and this is what it's doing. It's making this frequency wave rippling throughout this dimension, the 3D, as I like to call it. Vibrational frequency of emotions. The Latin root word for emotion is emotere, literally means energy in motion. In and of itself, emotion is neutral. It's neither positive nor negative. What you think of as an emotion is actually the experience of energy moving through your physical body. We experience emotion as energy frequencies and their correlating physical sensations in the body, such as an expansion or contraction. Feelings are the interpretation and labels we apply to the experience of emotion, such as sad, mad, or glad, which makes a lot of sense because whenever I get upset, whenever I am heartbroken, I feel a tightness in my chest. I do. So that would be the contraction. When I am in love, Pisces Venus here. I don't know if you guys think I'm saying penis or Venus. I'm saying Venus with a V, like Van Zeeland. Whispering Wisp. David Hawkins, researcher and author of Power versus Force, demonstrates emotions as energy. He devised a scale that rates the energy level of basic human emotions with a range of 1 to 1,000. Anything below 200 is considered unhealthy for the individual and society. This would be shame, 20, guilt, 30, apathy, 50, grief, 75, fear, 100, desire, 125, anger, 150, pride. Anything above 200 represents constructive expressions of power. Courage, 200, neutrality, 250, willingness, 310, acceptance, 350, reason, 400, love, 500, joy, 540, peace, 600, enlightenment, 700 to 1,000. It's going to take 1,000 light years for me to get there, but I'm working on it, baby, because I accept myself. Woo! What happens in your brain when you feel happy instead of a neutral is entirely different. Emotion has executive power and an overriding influence in your brain's terrain. I don't know about you guys, but my brain's terrain is rather rough, but I'm willing to put a helmet on. So we know that emotions break down into energy in motion. And whatever our neutral state is, the dwelling place, as Neville Goddard would say, whatever that vibrational frequency we are putting out, when we are having those thoughts, we are going to attract more of those experiences and situations into our lives. We've got two magnets, and the closer they get, the polar ends start to attract until they become one. That is third grade shit right there. But we know that to be true. The same applies to our thinking. The more you think and speak, the more you become. No matter what it is that I'm thinking. And let's be real here. Y'all knew that I was mentally ill when I said I was a comic, but I digress. Whatever it is that I'm thinking, whatever emotion is behind the thought, I know it's going to come into the physical form. The same goes for you. Spirituality and thought manifestations in religion. Now, for those of you who aren't really in alignment with science or physics, I thought that I could bring some parallels here into religion and spirituality, as I do like to respect everyone for their religious prowess, their beliefs. These same elements that I've been talking about apply in spirituality. In various religions and spirituality and thought manifestations like beliefs in a higher power or divine intervention are intertwined, influencing practices, rituals, and the search for meaning and purpose in life. Core concepts. Spirituality. Spirituality is often defined as an individual's search for ultimate or sacred meaning and purpose in life, encompassing personal growth, religious experience, and beliefs in the supernatural realm. Guys, look at this hair. You know I'm a spooky bitch. Religion. Religion involves beliefs, practices, and rituals related to the transcendent, often involving a structured system of worship and a community of believers. Off topic, I do believe I would make a great cult leader. Manifestation. In some contexts, manifestation refers to the belief that thoughts and beliefs can influence reality, potentially leading to the realization of desires or goals. Christianity. Christian faith is rooted in the belief that God will fulfill his promises and that he can do anything. So if it is his will, he will answer your prayer in the affirmative. If he answers in the negative, he has another plan. Islam. Islamic spirituality is holistic, fulfilling the need of both the body and the soul, and encouraging believers to manifest the highest ideals and virtues in their lives. Judaism. In Judaism, religion expresses itself tangibly in daily life, and it is understood that this is his infinite spiritual effects. Buddhism. Both Buddhism and Ignatian spirituality says that prayer and meditation is necessary for any personal transformation to occur. New Thought. New Thought holds that the infinite intelligence, or God, is everywhere. Spirit is the totality of real things. True human selfhood is divine. Divine thought is a force for good. Sickness originates in the mind, and right thinking has a healing effect. Spiritualism. Spiritualists generally believe that souls survive bodily death and live in a new spirit world, and that these souls can communicate with the material world. Prayer and divine intervention. Many religions empathize the power of prayer and the belief in divine intervention, where thoughts and requests are believed to be answered by a higher power. Rituals and practices. Religious rituals and practices such as meditation, chanting, or specific prayers are often seen as a way to connect with the divine and manifest spiritual growth or positive outcomes. Spiritual growth. Some religions emphasize spiritual growth and self-awareness as a path to enlightenment or a deeper connection with the divine, where thoughts and actions are seen as manifestations of one's spiritual journey. Manifestation or divine will. In some traditions, the concept of manifestation is linked to fulfilling God's will or aligning with the divine purpose, rather than solely focusing on personal desires. And all of this, I will give credit to Google's AI. That is where I found this section. We know thoughts influence how we feel and how we behave. When you believe something, that registers to the subconscious as a fact or a belief. When you have a belief in something, it becomes integrated through our habits. If you don't trust me, maybe you'll trust Lao Tzu, author of the Tao. One of my favorite quotes: watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your character. Watch your character, it becomes your destiny. That's like how destiny led me to the Taco Bell drive-thru for a Crunchwrap Supreme. Listen, we're all entitled to a cheat day. As long as it's not on your spouse, I see nothing wrong with it. Why should I be careful of the things that I say? Whether you realize it or not, words have power. They have the ability to build or destroy. Depending on your mood, or for me, my menstrual state, you can really hurt someone. The same thought that you might have stewed over for days, you can't take back once you allow it to come out of your mouth. The energy which you speak will be received by the other person, and if you do not say them carefully, you no longer have control over the outcome. This could go either way. For some people, maybe you fantasize about telling someone that you consider a bully to go fuck themselves. But rather than say it, you think about it and you think about it. But shortly afterwards, you start thinking of the negative repercussions that could happen if you were to say the things that you truly want to say. You rather sit and seethe in a quiet anger than stand up for yourself, reaffirming and devaluing your own divinity. Another reason that you should watch what it is that you say is that it can impact you on a subconscious level. That can lead to potentially sabotaging the goals that you've set for yourself. How do I change my thoughts? We talked about this in the last episode on overcoming trauma. And a lot of these same techniques and principles still apply in reprogramming our mind and our thinking. We have the basics like meditation, breath work, exercise, and eating healthy. But I wanted to provide you guys with a few more insights that you could apply if you're somebody who feels they need to control their thoughts a little bit more, because you've noticed that negative just attracts more negative, whereas positive attracts more positive. The number one thing I like to utilize when I'm trying to change my thoughts is I challenge the thought. I'm either happy when I'm challenging it, or maybe I'm angry. Maybe I'm angry that this thought is occurring inside of me. So I get to the bottom of it, and I'll envision myself in a business meeting with these other versions of myself. And I will start to ask them questions on why they believe this way. What is it about this person that makes you think this way? And I listen to what they're telling me, but I, as the decider, the boss in the office, I give them the different perspectives. I challenge those parts of myself to see my point of view, the positive side. I don't care if it's that I'm giving myself another outcome, if I'm envisioning the person that they're talking about speaking to me the way that I would like to be spoken to. I challenge them. Because I am the boss bitch here. I am the owner of the corporation, and so are you. You need to sit those parts of yourself down and say, hey, I know that this is what you're saying, but this is what I believe. This is a perspective that we're not looking at. We need to see this clearly. And when I do that, I always notice that it's harder for them to present facts than it is for me. Emotion 1, 2, and 3, I've heard your case. But I'm the one who runs this corporation. I am the one that is in a position where I have to challenge these thoughts so they don't appear in my life. Now, going back to what I was saying before, how I like to notice what's happening within my body. The reason for this is because I know that when I am dwelling in a negative state, I can feel that low vibration inside of me. The best way that I can describe it for you, it's like a low hum, like a Now, when I'm happy, it's like the highest sound that you can imagine, that pitch, you know? So I'm able to discern the difference. And when these thoughts are coming, before I even start to challenge them, I take a step back and I want to see what I'm feeling. Once I'm able to identify the feeling, I know that this is coming from negativity. I know that this is coming from positivity. I can go in there and I can challenge it. And as I'm challenging it, I'm going to feel it let go. I'm not going to have that heaviness on my chest. I'm not going to feel like I'm ready to pull up and flex on them, you know? I'm going to be relaxed. I'm going to feel luxurious and comfortable in my penthouse suite. That's the feeling of when we're able to release those negative thoughts. You know, if you look for the positives in a problem, you're able to find them. You just have to have the will to look for them. And the will should be simple. If I am thinking from this negative place, why do I want to have more of these negative situations occurring? When all I have to do is think positively. We went through it as I covered the quantum mechanics article. There's a wave. These thoughts, these emotions, they produce a wave. If I can just take a positive wave and put it on top of that negative one, I've changed the course of the frequency. So, from a scientific perspective, if all I have to do is challenge something that there really is no truth to it, it's just a feeling. Not only am I changing my emotional state, but I am changing my mental state as well. You know, you have to weigh the facts versus the interpretation. And when you do that, they even have like these nifty little notebooks. I can show you mine. Give me a second. Here it is. I'm going to try and show you guys a page that doesn't have writings about this cocksucker that is no longer my boyfriend. All right, here we go. So you've got date, time, when the thought occurred, where are you right now? So what's going on? You give a breakdown of what's going on. Okay, describe how you're feeling. Describe the feeling. Now what are you thinking? So in describing the feeling, you'll start to notice that you're feeling a little bit better. You're not nearly as resistant as you were initially. Then you've got what evidence supports that thought right here. What evidence contradicts the thought? Let's try writing down an alternate thought, which I love. How do you feel after you have written your alternate thought? Any other final thoughts before you go? And that's it. You're done. You've done the work. If the thought comes back, open another page and fucking write it down again. You have to be able to challenge the facts versus your interpretations of those facts. Let's say you're having a hard time stepping outside of your interpretations. Maybe you don't want to buy a notebook. What you can do is open the Notes app on your phone and ask yourself, why is this important to me? What is important to me? What are the positives that could come of this situation? What went wrong? What went right? That's all you have to do when you're trying to reprogram your thoughts. Let's not undermine meditation here either. I'm a very big believer in meditation. We talked about that. I don't want to continue to bring things up that y'all already know. We're all here to get better, and we're going to get better together. That's what we're doing. In conclusion of this episode, I hope that I have provided you with the tools that you need to start changing your thoughts, to look at things from a different perspective, whether you happen to be someone who is very religious or someone that believes in science. As always, I would love to hear your feedback. Drop those in the comments below. And again, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking that step. I know that for myself, I really wish that somebody like myself existed on the internet when I was trying to rediscover who I am, who I buried deep down inside so long ago. I wish that there would have been somebody that I felt connected to. And that's what I hope I'm able to provide you all with. Again, thank you so much for being here. My name is Alexandra Van Zeeland. And remember, only love can change the world. And that starts with you.